You won't stop suffering until you choose yourself first. Carl Jung, the deepest wound you carry is not what others did to you. It's what you refuse to do for yourself. There comes a moment in every human life when the weight of living for others becomes unbearable. When the masks we wear begin to suffocate the very soul they were meant to protect. When the roles we play, the good daughter, the perfect employee, the selfless friend, become prisons that lock away our authentic self. Carl Jung understood this profound truth. Your vision becomes clear when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. But awakening is not comfortable. It requires something most of us have been taught to fear: choosing ourselves first. For so long you have been the architect of your own abandonment. You have built relationships on the foundation of your own self-betrayal, convinced that love means disappearing into what others need you to be. You have confused selflessness with self-erasure, service with sacrifice of the soul. The suffering. You feel that deep gnawing ache that follows you through sleepless nights and hollow days is not random. It is not punishment. It is your psyche's desperate attempt to guide you home to yourself. Jung called this the voice of the self, the deeper, wiser part of you that knows your true nature. It speaks through symptoms, through depression, through anxiety, through the persistent feeling that something is profoundly wrong with how you're living your life. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, Jung wrote. But becoming who you truly are requires the courage to disappoint others. It requires the radical act of choosing your own life over their expectations. This is not selfishness. This is survival of the soul. Think about it. How many times have you silenced your own voice to keep peace? How many dreams have you buried to make others comfortable? How many times have you said yes when your entire being screamed no? Each time you abandon yourself for the sake of others, you create what Jung called a complex, an autonomous part of the psyche that carries the energy of the unlived life. These complexes don't disappear. They fester in the unconscious, manifesting as depression, rage, addiction, or the persistent feeling of being trapped in a life that doesn't belong to you. The path to healing begins with a simple but revolutionary recognition. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You are not responsible for making others happy at the expense of your own soul. You are not here to be the eternal caretaker of everyone else's comfort while your own spirit withers away. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Jung observed, this terror comes from a lifetime of conditioning that taught you your worth depends on your usefulness to others. But your worth is not negotiable. It is not contingent on performance, compliance, or the approval of those around. You are choosing yourself first, means learning to say no without explanation. It means setting boundaries that protect your energy rather than drain it. It means recognizing that every time you betray yourself to avoid conflict with others, you create a much deeper conflict within your own soul. This is the paradox of authentic living. The moment you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you become genuinely available to offer your true gifts to the world. When you stop abandoning yourself, you stop attracting relationships built on abandonment. Jung understood that individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, requires separating from the collective expectations that have shaped your identity. This separation feels like death because in a way it is. The false self that has carried you this far must die for the true self to be born. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order, Jung reminds us. The I. Chaos you feel when you begin choosing yourself is not destruction, it's creation. It's the old order breaking down to make space for something infinitely more authentic. But the journey requires courage. It requires learning to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing others. It requires developing what Jung called a strong ego, not in the sense of arrogance, but in the sense of a stable center that can withstand the storms of other people's reactions when you stop performing for their approval. The people who truly love you will adjust to your authenticity. Those who cannot love the real you were never loving you at all. They were loving their projection of who they needed you to be. This is the hard truth. Some relationships will not survive your commitment to yourself. Some people will leave when you stop being who they want you to be. This is not a failure, this is freedom. You are making space for connections that can hold the fullness of who you are. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, Jung wrote. The people who react most strongly to your authenticity are often reflecting back to you the parts of yourself you've been afraid to claim. Their anger at your boundaries reveals their own fear of setting boundaries. Their discomfort with your self-respect mirrors their own struggle with self-worth. Choosing yourself first is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. It's waking up each morning and asking, what does my soul need today? Instead of, what do others need from me today? It's learning to listen to the quiet voice within, rather than the loud demands without. It's recognizing that your intuition is not selfish guidance, it's soul guidance. That uncomfortable feeling in your stomach when someone asks you to do something you don't want to do. That's not neurosis, that's wisdom. Your body knows what your mind has been trained to ignore. The spiritual traditions have always known this truth. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot love others authentically until you learn to love yourself. You cannot serve from an empty cup. The martyrdom our culture often celebrates as virtue is actually a form of spiritual bypassing, avoiding the difficult work of self-love by losing yourself in service to others. Jung called this process of choosing yourself holding the tension of opposites. You learn to be both compassionate toward others and fiercely protective of your own well-being. You learn to be both connected and independent, both generous and boundaried. This is advanced spiritual work. It requires developing what mystics call spiritual discernment, the ability to distinguish between the voice of fear, which often masquerades as virtue, and the voice of love, which sometimes requires difficult choices. When you choose yourself, first, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the author of your own life. You stop waiting for others to change and start changing what is within your power to change, your responses, your boundaries, your choices. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens, Jung reminds us again. The dream of changing others, fixing others, saving others keeps you asleep to your own power. The awakening comes when you turn that healing energy toward yourself. This doesn't mean becoming selfish or uncaring. It means becoming discerning about where you place your energy. It means recognizing that the most radical act of service you can offer the world is to become fully yourself. When you are aligned with your authentic nature, your very presence becomes healing to others. You give them permission to be authentic too. You model what it looks like to live from the inside out rather than the outside in. The suffering that has been your companion for so long, the depression, the anxiety, the feeling of being trapped, these are not your enemies, they are messengers. They have been trying to tell you that you are living out of alignment with your true nature. Jung understood that symptoms are the psyche's attempt at self-correction. Your suffering is not meaningless, it's meaningful. It's your soul's way of saying, this life you're living doesn't fit who you really are. Choosing yourself first is choosing to listen to this wisdom. It's choosing to honor the voice that has been buried under layers of conditioning, expectation, and fear. It's choosing to trust that you have an inner compass that knows the way home to yourself. This choice requires grief. You must grieve the relationships that cannot hold your authenticity. You must grieve the version of yourself that others preferred. You must grieve the illusion that you can control others' reactions by controlling yourself. But on the other side of this grief is freedom. On the other side is the joy of living in alignment with your deepest truth. On the other side is the peace that comes from no longer being at war with yourself, Jung wrote. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But first, you must become a whole personality. You must gather the scattered pieces of yourself that you've given away to others and reclaim them. This is soul retrieval. This is coming home to yourself. This is the hero's journey that Jung mapped so brilliantly. The journey from unconscious participation in others' expectations to conscious choice of your own path. The world needs you to make this choice. Not the version of you that everyone else wants, but the real you. The you that carries unique gifts that can only be offered when you stop hiding behind roles and performances. Your authentic self is not selfish, it's sacred. It's the part of you that connects to something larger than ego, larger than fear, larger than the need for approval. It's the part of you that knows you belong here, not as someone else's projection, but as yourself. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This privilege comes with responsibility. The responsibility to choose yourself even when it's difficult, even when others don't understand, even when the path forward is unclear. The clarity comes through choosing. The way opens by walking. The courage grows through practice. As you sit with these words, feel into the part of you that recognizes this truth, the part that has been waiting, perhaps for years, for permission to choose yourself. Feel the relief in your body as you consider what it would be like to stop abandoning yourself for others. This is not about becoming perfect at self-care overnight. This is about beginning. This is about taking the first step on the path back to yourself. This is about honoring the sacred contract you made with life when you agreed to be here. The contract to become who you truly are. Your soul has been patient. It has waited through all the years of self-betrayal, all the nights of wondering why nothing feels quite right, all the relationships that drain rather than nourish you. It has waited because it knows that eventually you will remember who you are. That remembering is happening now, in this moment. As you recognize the truth in these words, you are already choosing yourself. You are already awakening from the dream of living for others' approval. The journey of individuation that Jung described is not a destination. It's a way of being. It's learning to consult your inner wisdom before you consult others' expectations. It's learning to trust the intelligence of your own soul. You are not selfish for wanting a life that feels authentic. You are not wrong for needing space to breathe. You're not bad for setting boundaries that protect your energy. You are human, and being human means having the right to exist as yourself, not as others' projection of who you should be. The suffering will continue as long as you choose others over yourself. But the moment you begin to choose yourself, gently, compassionately, consistently, the suffering begins to transform into something else: wisdom, strength, authentic connection, and deep, abiding peace. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. Choose to live your life so fully, so authentically, that you become a source of liberation rather than limitation for all who know you. If this reflection spoke to your soul, subscribe. You are not alone. The journey is just beginning.